Back in the day, movies often showed Japanese ninjas quietly poking holes through paper doors to spy inside. And if you ever step into a traditional Japanese house, or even just look at photos, you get that same quiet sense of wonder. There are no thick brick walls, no solid glass doors. Everything feels light, almost fragile, and the most striking detail is those paper doors. At first glance, they look like they could tear from the slightest touch, as if one careless movement might break them. Yet somehow, these delicate doors have existed in Japan for centuries. Something so seemingly fragile. Why would an entire country rely on it for so long? The answer lies in something deeply important. The Japanese didn't build homes to resist nature, but to live in harmony with it. These paper doors, known as shoji, are a clear reflection of that mindset. They weren't chosen by chance. They are the result of hundreds of years of adaptation, trial and error, and careful refinement. If you look closely, what seems weak at first is actually an incredibly thoughtful solution, one that, in many ways, was ahead of its time. In truth, paper doors didn't originate in Japan. Their roots trace back to ancient China, where people had already learned how to make paper and used it to cover wooden frames for doors and partitions, especially during the Tang and Song dynasties. Scenes of eavesdropping through paper screens appear in Chinese historical dramas as well. But when this idea reached Japan, it didn't just stay the same. The Japanese refined it, made the paper thinner, the wooden frames lighter, the sliding design smoother and more flexible. More importantly, they turned it into something beyond function, a part of their philosophy, their aesthetics, and the way they shape living space. Simply put, China gave birth to the idea of paper doors, but Japan transformed it into a unique cultural symbol. To truly understand why Japan has preserved these doors for so long, you have to understand the environment they exist in. Japan is not an easy place to live. It sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire, where tectonic plates constantly collide. Every year, Japan experiences thousands of small earthquakes, and every few years, a major one strong enough to devastate an entire city. If your home is built from heavy concrete and stone, the real danger during an earthquake isn't just the shaking, it's the house itself. Massive walls collapse, doors shatter, and everything around you can suddenly turn into a deadly force. The Japanese understood this very early on. They didn't try to build homes that could resist earthquakes by becoming stronger, because how could anything truly be stronger than nature? Instead, they chose a different path. They built homes that could yield, that could move with the forces around them. Wooden structures, light frames, thin walls, paper doors. When an earthquake strikes, the whole house sways and trembles, but it doesn't collapse in a violent, crushing way. And if something does break, it's often just torn paper or a cracked wooden frame. Things that are simple to repair and far less costly. A simple way to picture it is this. If concrete is rigid and unbending, then these homes are like bamboo. When strong winds come, bamboo bends but does not snap. And the paper doors are part of that same philosophy. There's another reason as well, the climate. Japan's summers are intense, hot, heavy, and deeply humid, with moisture levels reaching 80 to 90%. If you've ever experienced the damp season in northern Vietnam, you know how suffocating that kind of humidity can feel. In those conditions, a tightly sealed concrete house traps air inside, turning the space into something damp, stale, and almost unbearable. It becomes less like a home and more like a steaming box. Paper doors solve this problem in a way that feels almost too simple, yet remarkably effective. It isn't a sealed wall, but a soft boundary. Air can still move, and the wind can slip gently through tiny gaps. More importantly, because these doors slide, the Japanese can open up an entire space in just seconds. A single room can transform into a wide, open area, welcoming breezes from every direction. That's why a Japanese home doesn't feel like a closed, solid block, but more like a living body. It can open, close, and adjust itself with the changing weather. In simple terms, these homes aren't built to fight the heat. They are built to live with it. Another purpose is light. Today, we flip a switch and everything brightens instantly. But hundreds of years ago, things were different. Daylight was incredibly valuable. Yet direct sunlight wasn't always comfortable. When harsh rays poured straight into a house through glass, they brought glare and heat, especially in summer. The Japanese found a remarkably subtle solution, a special kind of paper called washi. This paper isn't like ordinary paper. It's made from strong plant fibers, giving it both durability and a unique quality. It allows light to pass through, but softens and diffuses it. As sunlight filters through the paper, it becomes gentle, almost like a natural filter. The entire room fills with light, but without the harsh glare. The brightness spreads evenly, calm and easy on the eyes. Sitting in such a room at midday, you can feel the soft glow quietly surrounding you, creating a deep sense of peace. Today, modern architecture calls this diffuse lighting, but the Japanese achieved it centuries ago using nothing more than paper. Beyond function, it also reflects philosophy and a way of life. The Japanese have a different sense of beauty. They are not drawn to things that are overly perfect, sharply defined, or showy. Instead, they appreciate softness, subtlety, and a hint of incompleteness. Shoji doors create exactly that feeling. You can't clearly see through them. You only catch silhouettes, shifting light, faint movements. It creates just enough distance between privacy and connection, and in that space, everything feels distinctly Japanese. Not loud or sharply defined, but quiet, gentle, and deeply serene. This is the spirit of Japan, the beauty of simplicity, of imperfection, of things that leave space for meaning. The Japanese don't try to fill everything. They leave room for people to feel, to imagine. In that sense, paper doors are not just functional objects. They are tools for creating emotion in a deeply Japanese way. But if we set aside all that poetic thinking for a moment and return to something more practical, there's another reason behind them. Traditional Japanese homes don't really have fixed spaces. A room isn't strictly defined or locked into being a bedroom or a living room. It can change depending on the moment. In the morning, when all the doors are slid open, the house feels wide, bright, and open. By night, when the doors are closed, the same space transforms into smaller, private areas. With just a few sliding movements, the entire house can be reshaped. This matters a lot in Japan, where land is limited and homes are often small. Instead of building many separate, fixed rooms, they create a flexible space that adapts to different needs. It's like a multifunctional room, but taken to a much higher level. There's also a very practical point. Paper doors are inexpensive. Compared to glass or modern materials, they cost far less. And more importantly, they're easy to fix. When the paper tears, you don't need to replace the whole door. You just replace that section of paper, something almost anyone can do themselves. In Japan, replacing shoji paper at the end of the year is almost a ritual. It's similar to cleaning and preparing the house for the Lunar New Year in Vietnam. Putting on a fresh, clean layer, ready to welcome a new beginning. It may seem like a small detail, but it shows how the Japanese turn something ordinary into part of their culture. So do people in Japan still use paper doors today? If you visit modern Japan, you'll notice something interesting. Outside, there are tall buildings, shining glass, and concrete structures that look no different from the West. But inside certain homes, or when you step into a traditional-style hotel, you'll still find those familiar paper doors. They feel like a bridge between the past and the present. So why does something that seems outdated still exist? Because for the Japanese, it was never just a door. It's more like a feeling than an object. When you enter a room with shoji doors, the first thing you notice isn't the door itself, it's the quiet. The light doesn't hit your eyes harshly, it spreads softly. The space isn't divided in a rigid way, but gently, with depth. Everything seems to slow down, just a little. And perhaps the more modern life becomes, the more people find themselves longing for these simple, familiar things. That's something glass or concrete can hardly offer. It's a feeling that's difficult to explain, yet anyone who has experienced it can sense how much more comfortable it is. And that's exactly why, even in many modern Japanese apartments where space is limited, people still try to keep at least one room with paper doors. It becomes a quiet corner within the home, a place where you can sit down, have some tea, read a book, or simply rest without needing to do anything at all. In traditional inns, paper doors are almost essential. Visitors don't come for modern convenience. They come to experience something distinctly Japanese. And these doors are a clear part of that identity. They create a sense of closeness to nature, even while you're indoors. Daylight filters softly through the paper, a gentle breeze slips inside, and everything feels naturally connected. Simply put, the Japanese don't keep paper doors because they have no other choice. They keep them because they are part of their past, part of everyday life. They don't compete with modern elements. They exist alongside them, offering a quiet balance. And perhaps that's what matters most. Paper doors are still here not because they are the most practical solution, but because they provide a feeling that people in Japan still deeply need.